Hey there, it is Craig from Unleashed Education here, and you have tuned into another Editing Toolbox video. In these videos, we share a quick tip, trick, or technique that we hope will help make your editing life a little bit easier and give you more tools in your toolbox to improve your pet photography. Today, I'm going to be talking about chromatic aberration, which is also known as color fringing. And so before I show you some ways you can fix this in Lightroom, I thought I'd give you a quick look at some of the things that can cause it. This is the one I'm going to be working on most today, I guess, and it's easily the most obvious and the worst case that I've got an example of. What you'll find often with chromatic aberration is that you will find it on the edges of items. So it's on all of these edges. You've got edges here. So it can happen on edges, but it's much more likely to happen on edges where there's high contrast. So like here, you've got this kind of blown out window here, and you've got a strip of chromatic aberration along the cushion. Here, it's all around the dog's head because the black head is isolated against a much lighter sky. What I also find is that it does also happen quite a lot more with prime lenses and shallow depths of field. So those are a couple of things that you can look out for. There's not really any way to avoid it happening in the lenses, and some lenses are definitely more prone to it than others, but you can fix it. What we'll do is we'll take a look at a couple of ways of fixing it in Lightroom. So if I just pop over to the develop module here, pressing D, we can actually just scroll down to the lens corrections panel here, and there's a box here which is remove chromatic aberration. Now in a lot of cases, if it's only slight, this is going to be enough to remove it for you. So for example, in something like this, there's not a lot of chromatic aberration here, but this is one area where you will see it happening, is in areas of bokeh here. So you've got some fringing around the edges. Normally, if you tick this box, that's enough to get rid of it. I don't think it quite has in this case, but that's your first step. So let me go back to this one, which is pretty bad. Now, the other thing you can do is you can just head over to manual and grab this little dropper here. That's going to allow us to select areas that are particularly bad. Now this fringing is all green. I don't think I see any kind of purple or magenta fringing here. So we just click around. Sometimes you might have to click in a couple of spots to get it. There we go, that's got it there. Often what you'll find is if it's really bad, you will have green and magenta or purple fringing at the same time, and they'll appear on opposite edges quite often as well, but I don't see any purple fringing here. If you did have purple fringing, you'd just do the same thing. You'd click on that color as well and get rid of it that way. This has much more subtle chromatic aberration, and in fact you can't see it much at all except for a little bit in the bokeh, but it's really noticeable here. So again, you can click on here, or we can go manual, which we'll need to do. Grab the dropper and away you go, and that is completely gone. In this example, there's not really anything around the dog, but again, in this kind of high contrast edges, we do start to see a little bit of fringing here. So again, grab the dropper, pick the greenest kind of colors, and there it's gone. Another area where you can start seeing a lot of chromatic aberration is in busy areas. So things like rocks, like you've got here. So the edges of the rocks have all got slight green fringing here. And down here in this side, we can see a little bit of kind of reddish purple fringing as well. Again, we've got the two colors here. So this time I can just grab the dropper on the green. We can fix up those greens, and I can grab it on the red kind of area until I get, there we go, that's probably a bit better. So that seems to have got that. If I go to the before and the after, you can see those edges are much cleaner. So there we have it, a couple of quick ways to identify and fix chromatic aberration or colour fringing in Photoshop. I hope you've enjoyed this editing toolbox video, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks for my next tip.